Namaste, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me again for another episode of Your Pleasure, incorporated into daily living. I'm your host, Ellen Nicholas Rathbone, sensuality consultant, author, entrepreneur, and sex educator, as well as life coach. Today's topic is love or lust? How do you tell the difference? That's a tricky question because I like to break it down. The conversation about love as being extremely necessary in our lives is so muddled between the many different kinds of love. I mean, there's fatherly love, motherly love, romantic love, love of God, love of self, brotherly love. So we have to be able to distinguish what it is that we're experiencing or want to experience with the person that we love. And if indeed it is romantic love, there is or could be, not necessarily always, an initial attraction to something about that person. Maybe they irritate something in you, which it's like an itch that you need to scratch. And with this person in your life, you'll have a lifetime of scratching that itch because they kind of push that button and make you more aware of yourself and how you're changing and growing. So lust, on the other hand, is the feeling of sexual attraction. Lust is necessary, but it is a hot flame that burns very, very quickly, and it burns itself out very, very quickly. Where love is more like a little bit of a flame, just a little spark there. And the more you blow on it and the more you pay attention to it and the more you help it grow or pay attention to its growth, the hotter it gets. And it can last because you are paying attention to it and you are giving it effort and thought along a journey. Where with lust, it's like you take gasoline, pour it on the fuel and or on the matter that you want to burn, and you just light a match, and that's lust. Lust is very hot and very sexy, and they can't keep their hands off of each other. And it's just, that's the relationship. Do they even know each other's last name? In lust, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Do they find out each other's last name after all is said and done? Well, that's the kicker. They might have loved each other's sex, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are compatible and that they have anything else in common. And although lust initially feels so passionate, so hot, and so exciting, and it doesn't burn out in one day, it could take months. It could take up to a year, but it'll happen because the whole relationship is based on how hot the sex is. And unless you are willing to put a whole lot of effort into keeping your sex with that one person hot and sexy and interesting, it will lose its flavor. I mean, it's just like any fire. If you do not pay attention to it, it burns out. So the lust is a hot, a lot of fuel, a lot of passion, a lot of heat in the beginning, and it burns hot for a while. And then once you start talking to one another and you find out that you really have nothing in common, and maybe you even don't like each other as people because of whatever prejudices you might have, but it doesn't matter. Love is sort of the opposite of that. As you grow as a person, you learn about the other person, and then there's something about that is going to help you grow. So it's a constant give and take of ideas and suggestions and mindfulness about the relationship that keeps it interesting and fun and exciting for the long run. Okay, so I guess that's another point about love and lust is quick and over quickly, and love is enduring and can last for years and years and years and years. I was reading a definition in the dictionary, and it says lust, usually an intense or unbridled sexual desire and intense longing. Well, not saying that you can't have that feeling for someone that you love, but initially that's not the sensation. The sensation is the physical attraction. And it is only after you have tasted each other that you have learned something about each other that maybe you want to know more. And not just about the sexuality, not just about their kinkiness or what kind of a blowjob they're going to give you or how they're going to go down on you. Or it's not about that. If that's all it is, then it's lust. And again, there's nothing wrong with lust, but you can't be disappointed if it isn't something else, if it isn't love, because it's not love. It just gives you the initial intense emotions like love would, but it falls apart under examination, under conversation, under investigation. So it's a good idea to know the difference, and so that when you're experiencing whatever situation you're experiencing, hopefully you can step back and instead of letting your genitals make the decision on whether or not this is a relationship that you want, you kind of let your higher self make that decision. And if that's what you need at that point in your life, God bless you, that's what you should have. But if you need or want something more, recognize what the situation was for what it was. Don't try to create the person in your mind to be somebody else. Oh, they look a certain way, so they must be the person that you're falling in love with. No. Okay? That's lust. That's all about the physical self. The love is something that is the person that is right there in front of you, warts and all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The changing, morphing person that is there, and you changing and morphing to appreciate that over the years. So I hope this has given you a little bit of an idea of the difference between love and lust. It is tricky, and you really have to watch out for music today. Music throughout the centuries has always talked about romantic love for the most part. There have been some songs about brotherly love and very few songs, in the religious circles, lots of songs about love of God, that sort of thing. But romantic songs that have to do with, he loved her or she loved him and he left her and that sort of thing. That's not always love. They're not even talking about love, but it sure sounds like it because they're saying what sounds like love. Love is more generous than these relationships. Love doesn't want to imprison the object of their desire to be with them because if you're not with me, I'm just going to be lost without you. Well, you're putting a guilt trip on the person that you supposedly love. That's not love. So it's a depth of emotion that has to do with the other person's welfare being as important, if not more important, than your own, and wanting the best for them, even if it doesn't include you. So love is very deep and is long-lasting and shows itself in many, many different ways. And lust is similar in the beginning in its attraction and scent and look and just how you're feeling, where your hormones are at that time of month. But for sure, they're two very different things. And just because the sex felt great doesn't mean you're in love. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this presentation of Lust or Love. I am your host, and I hope that you will ask questions so that there are other conversations about relationships and sex that we can have together, because it is my favorite topic. And I want us all to stay human, even through the technology. So namaste, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for joining me. Spread the word about your pleasure, because I can't advertise. I talk about sex and I must be X-rated, but I'm not. Anyway, talk to you later. Have a good night.